Coming up, Ed Asner joins Illeana in just a minute.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
And now, it's the I Blame Dennis Hopper podcast, starring Illeana Douglas. Eavesdrop with Illeana as she interviews Hollywood's most prominent players about filmmaking, acting, and what really happens on the set of your favorite flicks and TV shows.
That's right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the I Blame Dennis Hopper podcast. It's Illeana Douglas. I'm here with Tamara Berg. It's our anniversary show.
Yay!
Hey, happy anniversary.
Thank you, sir. So in order so we brought in a legend.
Who?
He's outside.
Oh.
We're going to talk to you for a while, then we'll bring him in.
Okay.
We were lucky enough to work on a movie quite a while ago. Not one of your greater movies, but don't go to sleep.
No.
Because I got to get to El Dorado and Mr. Hawks. But we were talking before about I always like to say about the first movie you saw. Did your parents go to see movies? Did you?
The only movie I remember going with my parents, I think, was The Dibuk.
Was this a Russian film, or what kind of film was this?
It was a Polish play at the time, the rage, early 1900s.
Wow.
I think it might have been 1800s. It didn't. I don't even think it had subtitles.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you grow up in Chicago? Where did you grow up?
Kansas City.
Kansas City. Mm-hmm. This is the heart of the Midwest.
Yes, it is.
Was there vaudeville then too, or in road shows?
I didn't go.
You just went to the movies.
Yeah. When I got old enough, I went to the burlesque house.
You did in Kansas City or in New York?
Lucky you.
Now, what were some of the? What were some of the acts? What were some of were the comedians on the bill?
At the burlesque house?
Yeah.
No, just girls. They did have comedians, but who needed them?
Well, I know. So yeah,
I needed the girls.
You needed the sexy girls.
Just like showbiz now, right?
Exactly.
Yes, it's all the same. It's all the same. Now, were your parents? I know I've heard you talk about your parents. Were they political at all? I mean, they were.
No. They was that whatever's good for the Jews.
Yeah.
That's what they were for.
In Kansas City.
Yeah, or anywhere.
How did they get to Kansas City?
Well, my daddy spent a year in sweatshops in Boston.
Wow.
And then, like every foreigner, he went elsewhere, west in this case. The Italians would call it to be with Goombas.
Yes.
And the Jews to be with Landsmen.
Landsmen, that's a new word, because see, when because I'm Italian, they would always they would take, half of the family would come over, and then when they got a little more money, they'd bring more of them over.
Sure.
But it'd be and they'd all live in the same tenements,
Yeah.
And a lot of them worked in the garment industry.
Oh yeah. I think my dad did that for the year that he was in Boston. But then he moved to Kansas City because he heard of the blandishments of Landsman, which is the equivalent of landsman.
I see.
And came to Kansas City, and he had a few bucks, I guess, and he started out with a pony and a cart and was a junkman.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you go to see movies? Were you a fan of movies, or aside from?
Oh, I'm sure I was. I also was a fan of radio. Big fan of radio. But radio was quite a guiding light. But I went to the movies. I remember one of the first ones I could remember is it was a big deal. It was Marie Antoinette.
Yes.
Not Moira, but
I think it's
Shearer.
Yes.
Norma Shearer.
Norma Shearer.
And I think names don't. Shut up.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
But I remember Norma. Yeah, obviously I remember.
And I remember how fascinated I was because the chief villain in Marie Antoinette was this very effeminate looking creature who didn't look like a villain at all, because it was Joseph Schildkraut.
Oh.
Yes, and he had rice powder on his face, and he acted like a popinjay, but he did everything he could to get her decapitated.
So when you would come out of the movies, did you how soon did you know you wanted to go into acting? Were there
No,
other?
I didn't think about that at all until my first year of college.
And where did you go to college?
University of Chicago.
Oh, so then you moved to Chicago.
Huh?
I said, so then you moved to Chicago.
Well, I was temporary. I love Chicago.
And then how quickly did you get, when you were in college, were you drafted in the Army or did you join the
I
Army?
was drafted. I don't join. You crazy?
I don't know, I wasn't there.
Join. It's funny. Yeah.
So you were in the Army and they sent you to New Jersey.
Well, first it was Georgia, Camp Gordon, Georgia. Camp Gordon. Remember that? Now it's Fort Gordon. Camp Gordon, Georgia, where I took my basic in Georgia.
Yes.
And then after 8 weeks of basic, I was sent to Fort Monmouth in New Jersey. And I was there for a while, and then I began going through the regular courses teaching me about radar and fixed station radio and all of that. I didn't learn a goddamn thing. It was all cheating. And then about a couple months into that, I decided to go see the entertainment officer, or whatever he's called. And I said, "Hey, I'm an actor. That's what I am. I'm an actor, and I wanted to see about getting into what is the entertainment branch called? The
USO?
USO.
Yes, there's the USO, and then there's the other one because my grandfather was
right,
kind of
right.
special services, entertainment.
Yeah, all of that. Be sure to make me get out of action.
Right.
And the officer looked at me. He says, "We're 50 miles from New York. What the hell do we need you for?" Son of a bitch. So I hope he rots in hell.
So you traipsed back, and how long were you in the Army? Did the
2
war?
years.
But so you didn't? Did the war end?
No, the war didn't end. I was sent to France, finally.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was with a small group of soldiers stationed in France. And my great contribution to this country, if anybody wants to know,
I do.
I became the manager of the basketball team.
Okay.
Yeah. We toured French villages, played French teams. And that team was so good. It ended up, I think, second best Army team in Europe.
That's fantastic. I hope you have pictures. Do you have pictures?
No, I don't have a goddamn thing.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So if the war ended, did you find yourself in New York? Did you want to go into the theater?
Well, no. Just before I got out of France, Paul Sills, who I had known at college,
Right.
wrote me a letter and found me in France, and it said, "We're going to start a theater here in Chicago, and we're going to do classics and new plays," because he was writing, of course. So,
Your guests are.
yeah.
That was just. That's
Why
okay.
don't you belch? Maybe we'll notice you that way.
Now, Ed, I'm I want to, just for people who don't know, I know who Paul Sills is, but,
Yeah.
but could you elaborate
Paul
about
Sills
his importance?
created I can't remember the year, the first one. The first improv companies in the country, and his second creation was Second City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So that's and hasn't he also written books on improv?
his mother did.
Oh, his mother did.
Mother
Okay,
did, yeah. Viola Spolin was her name.
that's it. Yes.
Yeah, and he was one of the big talents I knew in my life.
Mm-hmm.
He created that first improv group, and that it contained Mike and Elaine,
Yes.
and
Amazing.
Shelley Berman,
Mm-hmm.
and Barbara Harris, Severin Darden, and other people. But Mike Nichols and Elaine May were the big successes.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Second City, that there'd be no Saturday Night Live without Second City.
Of course. I mean, it really ushered in a
Right.
kind of modernistic type of acting. And so when you were in Second City, did you start to develop a style that you thought you were good at?
I wasn't in Second City.
You were in the first group.
No, I wasn't in either one.
Well, wait a minute.
I was in a legitimate group that Paul
Oh,
had started.
okay, I see.
Before he went to Compass. Compass was the name of that
Okay.
first improv group.
It's a good name. I
And
like that.
Second City was the second group. But we were legit. And I was too bourgeois to think that you go make a living doing improv.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't. And also I got great reviews as
Yes.
a legit actor. I wasn't ready to surrender those.
And do you remember some of the plays that you were doing?
Oh, absolutely.
Could you tell me some?
No, I don't.
I mean, no, I'm imagining. I don't know where you cast. Were you in the cast as the sort of Lee J. Cobb
Oh,
types,
no,
or
I was much
Paul
better with-
Douglas?
I had
Like, what
more-
was your?
Paul Douglas. Oh, you got the Paul Douglas. Well, I did Born Yesterday later.
I could see you being natural.
With Madeline Kahn.
Did you do this on Broadway or
Yeah,
touring?
yeah.
Oh my! I wish I'd seen that.
Some of the worst reviews I've ever gotten.
No, you're kidding.
No.
Sorry about that. But were you developing a style? I mean, that's why
I
I kept
have
asking.
style.
Well, I know you have
Up
style.
to wazoo, I'll tell you. But you gotta tease me to get it out of me.
Okay.
But
I mean, were you leaning?
We did Three Penny Opera. We did Wozzeck. We did Widowers' Houses. We did Summer of Shakespeare. I played Henry IV, and Bottom in Midsummer, and Prospero in The Tempest, stuff like that. So we lasted for 2 years as a legit. The city was going to close us down, and by that time, Paul and his partner David Shepard were drifting into the Compass, and that's where their real heart lay, because they felt improv was the way to get audiences more active, and that's what they wanted.
Well, obviously it was successful. So then how did you get from there to Hollywood? I mean, how did you get cast in El Dorado?
Well, I got good reviews, as I said.
Yes.
The reviews came primarily from Herman Cogan with the Sun-Times in Chicago, and Sidney Harris with the Daily News. Roger Detmer wrote for the Chicago American, and he was too right-wing to like us. Claudia Cassidy saw our first show, which before I even got there, which was Caucasian Chalk Circle. And she gave the review, but she said that she was afraid that playwrights and she walked on different political sides of the street. So she never came back.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, moving right along. What else was
Oh,
there?
I was yes, I was asking about how you came to be cast in one of the great films, El Dorado.
Well, Howard Hawks said, yeah, he'd be happy to have
I
me.
mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Just
I don't know why he wanted me, but and I remember showing up at Paramount and
yeah.
and Jim, I can't remember his name. Jim was there, who played my ranch foreman,
Uh-huh.
and another guy named Danny, who was like a crossover between extra and stuntman. And we were going to Tucson together.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, well, I'm on a 2-week contract, and they said the first week I'm supposed to spend in Tucson. And Jim and Danny looked at me and said, no. Once you get down to Tucson, Hawks ain't gonna let you go. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh. So I immediately called my agent. I said, they say he's gonna keep me down there until I finish. So they renegotiated a better contract.
And had you been around horses before? I mean,
I had taken riding lessons when I first came to L.A.,
mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of air between me and the saddle.
and what was Mr. Hawks like as a director?
Well, he was a very nice man. The first day I was in the first scene, and he gets me and the Duke over there.
The Duke.
John
It's not
Wayne,
bad.
Yeah. And we go over the scene, and it's where he returns the money that I had given him to kill Robert
Mitchum.
Mitchum.
Yeah.
So we go over the scene, and I suggest a word here, a word there. And Hawks liked the addition. Wayne didn't say anything. And then finally he said, well, Ed, it's going to be a few hours before they're ready to shoot. So you can go to your trailer or whatever you want to. So, okay. I'm in what I call my Mary and Sam outfit. I look like Mary and Sam, a little Abner. And I'm walking around, looking at this, looking at being scared to death and all that. And then finally I see all these army of technicians moving the lights and everything up to the fake ranch house. And I thought, I think I better start heading towards that direction. And I'm standing there, and there is Duke sitting on his Palomino, backing him up and teaching him how to back up and all that. And while he's backing up, he's looking right at me, and he's saying, where's that New York actor? Where's that New York actor? And I'm looking right at him, and I'm walking straight into him. I said, you mean me? And he mumbled something. I don't know what he mumbled. And we didn't talk again until we started doing the scene. And in the scene, I'm on the ranch house, and he's on his horse. And he flings the bag of money back at me that I had paid him. And one of the first times he did it, I fumbled it and dropped it. Mm-hmm. And I went behind the flat to begin the rehearsal again. He said, yeah, you better get him a catcher's mitt. He's having trouble catching that thing. You son of a bitch.
Smack talk from John Wayne.
Yeah. So I went back and came out again, and I did another scene or two of the same. And then when it came time to throw him the money back, there's something in your mind that creates the stumbling blocks so that it just fell out of reach. And he couldn't reach it. And I felt like I paid back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we do the scene again, and he flings the money at me, and without looking, I catch it, without changing my eyes from his eyes. And I fondle it, of course. And then I go behind the set again. You got to tell the Dodgers about him. They could use him to take Willie Davis's place. So I thought, okay, that's good. So we do the scene, and finally finish it. It's all over my shoulder on him. Mm. And as they turn the cameras around to do my cut, Hawks comes up to me and says, "Well, Ed, let's discuss this scene." I said, "I think I know what the problem is." He said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, I'm treating him like John Wayne the millionaire, and I'm Ed Asner, a little stinking actor." Mm-hmm. He said, "I got to remember that I can buy 100 of him, and he has to be aware of my power." So I made that adjustment in my mind and did the scene. For Hawks, it was magic. He said, perfect. And he went on and he told all the other young actors about that incident, and everything was hunky-dory. Mm-hmm. Then I had the motel room between his Hawks's and John Wayne.
Yeah.
And Hawks liked his sleep. So everybody would collect at my room. This was before my wife arrived. And they made a lot of noise. And they kept Howard from sleeping. So one particular noisy night, Mitchum had been there and all that. And at dawn the next morning, first assistant barges into my room, and he says, "Mr. Hawks wants to talk to you." And Hawks comes in right after him and says, "Ed, I'm telling everybody they have to come out to Old Tucson every night, whether they're working or not. If you don't like it, you can get back on the plane and go back to Los Angeles." No, Mr. Hawks. No, Master Hawks. Master Hawks. That's good. That's right. So I was in the doghouse, and I go around thinking about what I'm in the doghouse and all that. And finally, the makeup man, who was Wayne's makeup man, he was a great guy. He said, "Well, you know what? I always found that you write somebody a letter and explain how you feel and your apology, and that'll work for you." I said, "Yeah, that's good." So I got busy to write my letter. R.G. Armstrong was an English major, so he agreed to help me write my letter. And I wrote this letter. And I put it in one of the mail slots. And I said, "Mr. Hawks picks up his mail?" Yes. Mm. So I keep looking, the first day, second day, third day. Goddamn letter is just sitting there collecting dust. And I'm dying. So finally I said, "Does he come to pick up his mail here or not?" And the guy behind the desk said, "Well, usually he goes over to the other place." I said, "Oh, for God's sake, put the letter in there, would you?" he puts the letter in there, and keep looking. Finally, it disappears from the slot. And that night, I elect to go to Old Tucson and be prepared to receive any storm. Well, I'm walking around and I'm avoiding Howard Hawks' gaze, and I'm avoiding it, and I'm avoiding it. And finally he sees me and says, Ed! And he comes shambling over towards me, and he said, I got your letter, and I want to thank you for it. And I wanted to go, oh, I would have gone down on him, probably. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And from that point on, I was out of the woods.
Yes. And what are your recollections of Mr. Mitchum? You said you mentioned he was party at your...
Oh, well, I
mean, what a great...
He was a great guy. He was also a killer.
Yeah.
I think he could have easily killed you.
Uh-huh.
And I felt that he... everybody raved about what a good actor he was. Mm-hmm. But he longed and longed and longed to be a great writer. Mm-hmm. And he so longed to be a great writer that he didn't pay attention as much as he should have to being a great actor. Mm-hmm. And that would have been the trick.
Yeah. And from working with Howard Hawks, I mean, you know, as a director, did he do a lot of takes, or was he...
No.
But you were there the whole run of the movie.
Yeah, he knew what he wanted, and he liked what they gave him. Mm-hmm. He had good actors. And
did Duke ever kind of come around and compliment you?
Not there.
Eventually?
No. I remember Jimmy Kahn coming in one time, and I was there and waiting to work, naturally. And Jimmy Kahn started asking him about Patton.
Uh-huh.
And he got so aroused, he'd take his hat off and he'd start whipping his hat against his thigh and talking about how they screwed him on the movie and how they wouldn't do it his way. So that's why they went to George C. Scott and on and on and on.
Uh-huh.
But Kahn was just baiting him the whole time.
Oh, that's funny.
Innocently.
That's funny. So then after the movie came out, were you living in, L.A.? What was the movie you did after El Dorado? Or did you go, I know you started to do a lot of television, episodic TV.
I did a lot of that then. Made El Dorado in 65. I'd come to L.A. in 61. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. What was your question?
Well, I was just after El Dorado came out. I mean,
I don't remember. What does my IMDb say?
Yeah. What I was trying to get at is the kind of left turn.
Yeah,
to comedy.
Yeah,
No, I did nothing in comedy until they were casting for the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yes.
And I had done maybe 2 half hours in the 9 or 10 years I'd been in L.A.
Mm, wow.
That's about it. And then they weren't that funny. But they called me in, and I had done a comic police chief mm-hmm. on what the producers of the Perry Mason show, which is going off the air, mm-hmm. and they had were filming this with Jim Hutton. Mm-hmm. That was to be their replacement for Perry Mason, and I got this idiotic character of a police chief. Uh-huh. And they were so idiotic, I chose to start making him as comic as possible. And The suits at the 20th Century Fox finally had to say something about toning me down.
Uh-huh.
Because I was making too many laughs, I guess. I don't know. So Grant Tinker was the 20th at that point, and he was witness to my comedic ability at that time. And then we go along, and they're casting the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So I'm part of the cattle call that gets called in to read for Lou Grant. And I go in and read, and it was beautifully written, the hiring scene of Mary. And, excuse me. So then they had me read, and I read it very intelligently. And after I finished, Jim Brooks said, "Well, that was a very intelligent reading." And I said to myself, "Yeah, but not funny, not funny." So when we have you back to read with Mary, we want you to read it crazy, wild, kooky, all falling down idiot. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Okay." I don't know what the hell I'm going to do then. It's fun. I said, "Why don't you have me try it that way now? And if I don't do it, don't have me back." I've never talked like that before or since. So, "Well, we do have another appointment, but go ahead." So I get out and I read it as crazily as I can. And Alan Burns and Jim Brooks, the two producers, laugh appreciatively. And they say, "Read it just like that when you come back with Mary." So all I kept saying for that week or 2 weeks, I don't know how long it took, "What the hell did I do? What did I do? How did I do it?" And crazy. So I finally came back and I read it with her, and I tried to do it as crazily as I had done the first time. They laughed again. Now, a couple of years later, I found that when I left, Mary turned to them and said, "Are you sure?" And they said, "That's your Lou Grant."
Wow, you're very lucky.
So I learned comedy on the job.
But you were never, I mean, the beauty of the show is nobody was, everybody was a serious actor. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it's so funny.
Well, maybe.
You know, nobody was, it was so grounded in reality.
And they were insistent. You couldn't change a the.
Oh, really?
And anything. And it was very good discipline for us.
Was this a time where the writing staff was very large, like a very large writing staff? Do you remember?
Not then. Maybe 4 or 5 added people. David Davis, Lorenzo Music, David Lloyd.
Yeah, I mean, these are the great writers.
The great writer.
The great comedy writers.
Yeah.
And you had said that Mary Tyler Moore was such a great star to work with because she was this kind of the spindle and was very generous with you and with other actors.
You want to finish that sentence?
Oh, I was hoping you would finish it for me.
She was the best leading lady you could ever find in a million years. She had these great writers. She had this great supporting cast, great director, and Jay Sandrich. Mm-hmm. And she was a workaholic.
One of the things that I always remember was one of my first impressions as a kid watching the show was how much you could hear Jim Brooks laughing on camera.
Yeah, hee-haw.
Well, it became a sort of a that's one of those things that made show. You were like, I want to go into show. This seems really fun. Is that important to create an environment where really everybody is laughing and just trying to be funny as possible?
Well, we also thought it was a fake laugh because it was so manufactured But it was sincere
God,
on his
see?
part. It
You
was
named the
sincere
book
on
club.
his part.
It's funny.
The two things Grant recommended me to
Yes.
the producers to do the role, and at that time, Ethel Weiner was executive vice president at CBS for comedy, I guess, and they turned to her and they said, "Can Ed Asner do comedy?" And she didn't know.
Yeah.
I had done a job for her, but it wasn't a comedic job. And can he do comedy? She said, he can do anything. So I got the job.
I wanted to talk just because I'm curious. But one of my favorite episodes is well, there's so many, but I do love the veal when you take too much veal Prince Orloff.
Yeah.
And the ability to hold. The show does have a certain theatricality, and that it's so grounded. Yet you did have to hold a little bit for your laugh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well,
I mean, did you ever break, or did they only do one take, or did they do two takes?
We did 2, 3, 4. But you learn very early about holding for laughs.
Right.
And that's the other funny thing. After 7 years, the show went off the air.
And my life ended.
By
Right.
The greatest.
producer design. And my agent asked CBS, do they want me, or am I free to go wherever I want to go? And CBS said, no, they want me. Okay. Who do they want? Who do I want to produce the show? I said, well, I like MTM, naturally. So that's where I started this whole mess. I said, okay, you got MTM. Who do you want to produce for MTM? I said, well, I'd love my 2 producers from Mary. So they were asked, and they said, yes, they would do it. I said, okay. So I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and finally they come down, and they say, we think we want to keep Lou and keep him as a journalist, and we want to do an hour show with that. I said, well, they can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I said, fine. Okay, fine. Good. So they created an hour show. Neither of them had ever created an hour show. Nobody involved had done an hour show.
Yeah.
They had done specials, they had done this, they hadn't done a series. They didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And so we start with this hour show, and we start with this Lou Grant person. And they write about the problems in America, but there are moments where they use a joke. And I, not wanting to lose one joke, if any, realized I had to do something to help the joke whenever it happened on my watch. So I was in therapy at the time. And when the show finally debuted, and it had been on a time or two, and I, lying on the couch with this unresponsive therapist, and I said, what'd you think? And he said, why do you grimace so much? I said, what? Why do you grimace so much? I thought, oh my God. Every time there was a laugh line, I thought, because the crew couldn't laugh,
Right.
there was no audience, because
Right.
it's an hour show. So it meant that the people at home had to laugh if they were going to laugh. And I thought I'd help them by grimacing.
Right.
And it was the stupidest, most unprofessional thing I could have done in my life. And I finally shook myself up. It was, the therapist was worth it just for that.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Great insight.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about Ted Knight, just because, again, just
Who?
Mr. Ted Knight.
Who's Ted?
One of the men you worked with.
I don't recall him at
No.
all. No.
Was there any friendly competition between people being
God,
funny,
yeah.
or?
He's the funniest man I ever knew.
Yeah.
He's the funniest man I ever knew. And the classic design I can give you for that is,
Yeah.
one day, Gavin and I, Murray and I, are walking past, and he's doing a scene, and he comes off, and we just finished laughing about it, and he says, "Listen, guys, I'm going to do the scene again. I want you to watch and tell me what you think. I'm going to do it a different way."
Uh-huh.
So he does it a different way. Still just as funny. And, yeah, we hate his guts. Yeah. So then he said, "Okay, we're going to do it again. I'm going to do it a third way. You tell me which one you know."
Yeah.
So it was funny, but not as great as the first one and two,
Right.
but still great. And Gavin and I, all we could think of was, we're lucky enough to get it there once.
Yeah.
And this son of a bitch is doing it 2 and 3 times differently. So nobody else could have done it as he did it.
Yes.
He inspired all of us. We go out every Friday night after the show with our wives and have drinks and dinner and unload and unleash. But and everything was perfect. In the beginning, we guys thought that they were favoring the girls too much.
Uh-huh.
But we had to take our turn. And we waited, and finally the girls got farmed off to shows of their own.
I can't imagine. I can't remember a show that got so many spin-offs.
Yeah.
With all their own characters. And well, eventually they finally did the inevitable. You got to go on a date with Mary. Was that something you pushed for? Or? Well, there was always this undercurrent, in the show. I think we always hoped.
I think my yearning was quite evident. But, I don't.
We always hope for romance.
Yeah, well, I had it.
Yeah.
My secret love.
Well, who wasn't in love with Mary, for God's sakes?
Exactly.
And of course, one of the, it's considered one of the most, that's considered the most famous episode in television. Chuckles.
Please don't tell me. I
Direct.
love Spunk.
Well, that too. That's the greatest. One of the greatest
lines.
lines.
You're talking about Chuckles the Clown?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
It's, I think considered by everybody
I agree.
the great. Now, that was an episode that was directed by Joan Darling? Do you recall?
No, not that one.
Not that
Joan
one?
Darling directed the 45-year-old old man,
Uh-huh.
and that had Slim Pickens in it,
Yeah.
and it was
great.
a good script. And George Kirgo wrote the script, or at least wrote the initial
Yes.
draft, didn't do any of the following write-ups, and everybody was resentful of him.
Uh-huh.
And they go ahead and they do the doctors, and they end up, and I think he won the Emmy for best
Yes.
screen writing.
Well, every show is. I've got one more, but I've got to get in the Chuckles the Clown when you're all in the huddle. Like, whose idea was it to get the Kleenex?
Georgette. Jim said, "Well, we're all in this huddle. Is there a funny way we can break out of it?" and Georgia said, "Well, there's Kleenex on the table. We could sidle over and get the Kleenex." And we did it.
Yeah, one of the long. One other episode may I ask you about is the one with Johnny Carson with the blackout. And what? And was he there? How was that?
He was there.
I never saw I mean, it was so daring to do just the show in a blackout.
Yeah.
And how did that work with him? That were you at microphones? Like how did you do that?
I
Those
don't
scenes?
remember what the mechanics were, but
it was
it all
crazy.
went smoothly. Yeah.
What was the decision to have her move her apartment? Just a change of venue? Because I love, it was funny that when she changed her apartment.
I don't know what it was. All I can remember is when finally, after she did Mary's apartment, she did my apartment.
Yes.
And my dialogue went, I love it. And then as soon as she leaves the room, I said, I hate it. Yeah.
Oh my God, the greatest show. Okay, we got to talk. We're running out of time, so I got to talk. Are you the best Santa Claus of all time?
Oh yeah, without doubt.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. You own that.
I do. I think I'm going to be in maybe 4 different movies around Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
As SC, Southern California, but it's a lot of fun.
Another movie that I saw growing up that I loved quite a bit, Fort Apache, The Bronx, with Paul Newman. What a great film that was.
I loved it.
With the director Daniel Petrie.
Yeah.
And
I wanted to rewrite it.
You did?
Yeah.
You didn't like your character? Or
No,
you're so good in the
because
movie.
I was a son of a bitch.
I know.
I was a son of a bitch, and when we got the script, I forget somebody wrote the script, and so when they say he calls me in his office and I'm turning my badge in, and I accept his resignation or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then I give him a big pep talk about how the community needs him, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I tried to convince him, but I wasn't strong enough to say, no. Have him make some effort to convince him not to leave, and have him finally say, okay, I want to stay, but I'm going to, every time you screw up, I'm going to nail your ass.
I know, so good. So
Yeah.
I love those gritty.
Yeah.
They don't make movies like that
No,
anymore.
they
Those
don't.
kind of gritty, taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 type films.
Right.
We're gonna get to your book, The Grouchy Historian, because I know you're under I guess everybody has seen Up, right? It's just such an incredible.
I don't
film.
know. Let's count.
I've seen
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
I mean, Jesus, you want me to start crying right
Yeah.
now?
I
It's
know,
so
right?
good. Just a beautiful film.
That's a piece of film I'm really proud of.
Oh my God, we should be. And
should
how
be.
did they just come to you? How
Yeah.
did they drew? I mean, you must love the character. He looks like he's you.
Yeah.
It's so cute. Did you know did they come right to you? I mean,
I don't know if they saw anybody else or not.
I
but-
can't imagine that
But
they
the
did.
interesting thing, when they were casting it,
Yeah.
I was submitted normally as by my voice agent, and didn't think anything about it. I didn't know about it. So then I found out subsequently that I was doing a one-man reading, a one-man show called Numbers of People, about a statistician who survived the Holocaust and then became a, what do you want to call it? Somebody who counted deaths
Okay.
and tragedies
Like a static.
for the UN,
Okay.
Wow.
numbers of people.
Well.
And so I did that play up north, and the two producers came to see me in it without my knowing it, saw me in that show, and decided to cast me in that role from that point on.
Wow.
So
Well, thank God they did.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
yeah.
And
I call it a double love story.
oh, it's so sweet. I mean, if anyone hasn't seen Up, it's just such a celebration of love. And, you know, very, very well done.
Yeah.
Should be a sequel.
Well, they probably like it. That's the way it is.
I think so. So, what was your favorite part of writing your book, The Grouchy Historian? Coming up with the title?
I think Simon and Schuster came up with that.
They
so
did? It's a great title.
I applaud them.
I
for
love it.
Yeah. I just to work with Ed Weinberger, letting him expose his bile,
Yes.
which matched mine.
Yes. And you guys had worked together on a play, right?
We were doing. I do A Man and His Prostate, which is
Yes.
the one-man show he wrote
Yes.
about his own grief on a cruise to Italy.
Uh-huh.
And I'm perfect for it.
Yes. Well, you're perfect for a lot of things.
Yes, you
yes,
are.
yes.
It's true.
The
Not a virgin, though.
what in when you're on a set, and we've worked together, but like what makes you what irritates you? Like what's the downside? Is it the waiting? Is it incompetence? What is it?
Pompousness.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. People being pompous. Wasting of time. I'll never forget. I was doing. I was on a single. I was doing one shots as an actor before I got discovered, and I was doing one of my maybe my second Untouchables, and Alex March, I believe, was the director, and I'm busy doing it, and it's got a whole page of witness testimony that I give in the jail cell. So I was off book. I do the damn thing, and then do it for him and the crew, and sweat through all that dialogue, a whole page of dialogue, and finally I finished, and he said, "Okay, now when you do it this, I want you to do it this and this and this and this." And I said, "Well, I thought I was doing that when I did it." And he said, "Oh, well, I wasn't aware. I was thinking about lights or something or other." And I thought, "You shithead." Irresponsibility, I guess, is the
Yes.
best answer I can give you there.
Well, when you start out working with Howard Hawks, it sets the bar.
Yeah.
It sets the bar.
He was right on. Believe me.
I can imagine.
Old man, but good.
Yes. As yourself.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, it's been such an honor to have you here. We can keep talking if you want, off camera, but what are you going to do the rest of the day?
Talk to you off camera.
Let's do it, definitely. I'd kill to be in another movie with you. I think we only had a couple scenes.
Yeah.
I know. Wasn't
Wasn't
that fun?
Honored, at the Hollywood Film Festival.
Please tell. Okay.
So he's being honored
So
at the Hollywood Film Festival.
You're being honored.
On
I'm going to say
Saturday.
this on camera. This Saturday at the Hollywood Film Festival. Can we all come out and see this?
Anything I can do to please you.
All right. That would be. I would love to. It's,
All right.
You know.
Can you make sure?
Yeah, we'll put all the information there.
Great.
And continued success. I can't wait to see what these films. When do these films come out? You'll be all Christmas movies.
I've lost. I can't keep track of it.
We'll tell people to check your IMDb page because
Yeah,
that's
that's
pretty
a-
reliable way to find out
Oh
things.
boy. Oh boy.
But anyway, continued success to you, sir. You're
Thank
the
you,
best.
darling.
You're so funny. Thank you so
So
much
great.
for
Look-
all the laughs you've given me. My God.
Absolutely. Look for Ed's one-man show, A Man and His Prostate, and his book, The Grouchy Historian. He's signing his book December 12th. here in LA at the Grove from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And he's on Twitter at the only Ed Asner. Thank you, Ed. You can buy Illeana's book,
That's
I
right.
Blame Dennis Hopper,
That's my
in
book.
bookstores and online.
have a book.
Like us
There you
on
go.
Facebook. Our website is illeanaspodcast.com. There's lots more information there. Check it out.
That's right. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary,
Happy
baby.
anniversary.
It's legendary. I got 20, 30 years to go before I get legend. And as we end our show, as we always do, I say everyone's life is like a movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this is the end of our movie for today, Mr. Ed Asner.
Well, some of us get revived.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes, we're going on. We're going to keep talking, but
Yes,
for
we will.
everyone else, have a wonderful day.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.